You watched yourself do it again. You were fully aware, painfully, horrifically aware, and you did it anyway. That self-destructive choice, that pattern you swore you'd break, that thing that makes you whisper at 3 a.m., "Why do I keep destroying everything I build?" Here's what nobody's told you. That wasn't you. Something else is driving. Something that knows every password to your mind, every weakness in your defenses, every way to make you sabotage yourself. Carl Jung called it the shadow, and his warning wasn't metaphorical. It was a prophecy you're living right now. What if every addiction, every failed relationship, every opportunity you've burned wasn't bad luck, but an invisible force inside you, executing a program written in childhood? What if you're not the one making decisions? You're watching someone else make them with your hands. You are not one person. You are two people at war. There's the you that sets goals and makes promises, and there's the you that breaks them at 2 a.m. when nobody's watching. That second you isn't a weakness, it's the shadow. Every part of yourself you learned to hide as a child, your rage, your need, your darkness, didn't disappear. It formed a counter-personality in your unconscious. And now it's stronger than your conscious will. It doesn't whisper suggestions, it gives commands, and you obey while thinking you're choosing freely. This is why you keep repeating the same patterns, why you sabotage success, why you choose people who hurt you, why you feel like you're possessed by yourself. You are. This video will show you exactly how your shadow controls you, why every pattern in your life repeats, and the one path Jung discovered to break free from this possession. You'll learn the 5 signatures of shadow control operating in your life right now. You'll discover why the parts of yourself you've rejected are running your life from the darkness. And you'll be given the integration method that can finally make you whole. But I'm warning you, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Once you understand how the shadow operates, you'll recognize it in every choice you make. The illusion of control will shatter. And you'll face the most terrifying decision of your life. Stay unconscious and keep suffering, or do the hardest work a human can do and integrate your shadow. Your cursor is frozen because part of you knows clicking away now would be self-betrayal. That hesitation, that's your hidden self fighting to stay awake. This is your line. Cross it. Subscribe. This isn't content, it's cognitive warfare. Prove you're in. Comment cognitive war. Anything less is surrender. See what others miss. Know what others fear. Become who others can't. This is the hidden self. Let's begin. This morning, before you even opened your eyes, it was already making decisions for you. You hit snooze, not because you needed sleep, because your shadow decided discomfort of facing your day was worse than the shame of being late. You scrolled your phone for 27 minutes, not because the content mattered, because your shadow needed dopamine to avoid feeling what you'd feel in silence. You skipped breakfast or ate garbage, not because you lacked discipline, because your shadow knows staying sick keeps you safe. Safe from what? From having to actually try, from risking failure, from discovering what you're capable of and having to live up to it. Your shadow would rather keep you small and suffering than let you grow and risk the unknown. So it makes the decision for you, and you call it choice. Let me show you exactly how this works. You're at work. Your boss says something dismissive in a meeting. It's subtle, maybe not intentional, but you feel it. That spike, that heat in your chest. Your conscious mind says, let it go, be professional. But your shadow heard disrespect. Your shadow felt the wound. And your shadow doesn't forgive. So 3 hours later, you're passive-aggressively sabotaging the project, or fantasizing about quitting, or you've written and deleted 17 versions of a confrontational email. You tell yourself you're processing feelings. You're not. Your shadow is processing them for you, and its solution is always destruction, even if it destroys you in the process. Or this one, you meet someone good, someone stable, kind, emotionally available. Everything you say you want, and it's going well. Too well. So well your conscious mind thinks, this could be real. That's when your shadow activates, because your shadow doesn't believe you deserve real. Your shadow carries a wound from childhood that says, people who love you will leave, so leave them first. Suddenly you're picking fights over nothing, pulling away, sabotaging intimacy, creating the ending you fear to prove you were right about love all along, and you think this is you making decisions based on incompatibility. It's not. It's your shadow fulfilling a prophecy written in your unconscious decades ago, or the one that destroys people. You're 1 week away from finishing something important, the project that could change your career, the body transformation, the commitment that could change your relationship. You're so close, closer than you've ever been. And that's when your brain suddenly decides it's the perfect time to binge watch an entire series, reorganize your closet, start 12 new projects you'll never finish. You tell yourself you're taking a break. You won't get back to it, because your shadow just executed the program it always executes. Success is dangerous. Failure is safe. Stay where you are. Why? Because every time you succeeded as a child, got attention, shined, something bad happened. Your sibling got jealous. Your parent felt threatened. Your peers rejected you. So your child self learned success equals danger. And your shadow, still operating from that child logic, will sabotage every success to keep you safe. Even if safe means suffering. Do you see it now? The invisible hand. Every decision you think is yours, what to eat, who to date, what to avoid, when to quit, when to self-destruct, isn't coming from your conscious will. It's coming from an unconscious program written in childhood, reinforced through repression, running automatically in the background of your psyche. Jung said, people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. Your shadow doesn't have thoughts. It is thought. It's the voice in your head you think is you. It's the feeling in your gut you trust as intuition. It's the impulse that seems spontaneous but actually comes from the basement where you buried everything you couldn't face. And the most terrifying part, you've been calling this fate, bad luck, circumstances, other people, anything but the truth. You are possessed by yourself. Here's the mechanism. When you were a child, every time you expressed something threatening to your survival, anger, sexuality, weakness, need, adults responded with punishment, shame, or withdrawal of love. And you, wired for survival through attachment, made a calculation. This part of me is dangerous, so I must kill it. But you can't kill a part of yourself. You can only exile it. So you took that anger, that need, that darkness, and shoved it into the unconscious, built a wall, said, that's not me anymore, created a persona, a mask of acceptability. I'm not angry, I'm calm, I'm not needy, I'm independent, I'm not dark, I'm light. Everyone applauded. What a good child. But the exiled parts didn't die. They formed a counter-personality in the dark, an anti-you with opposite traits of everything your persona claims. If your persona is nice, your shadow is cruel. If your persona is disciplined, your shadow is hedonistic. If your persona is confident, your shadow is terrified. These two versions of you are at war every single day, and you wonder why you're exhausted. Let me give you the 5 signatures of shadow possession, the patterns proving you're not in control. First, self-sabotage at the threshold. You're about to break through, level up, become someone new, and right at that moment, literally right before transformation, you blow it, quit, relapse, burn the bridge. Why? Because transformation is ego death. Becoming someone new means killing who you were. And your shadow, identified with who you were, would rather destroy your future than let your past die. So it kills the opportunity, the relationship, the momentum. Not because you're weak, because you're unconscious. The alcoholic 30 days sober who drinks the night before their 1-month chip. The entrepreneur about to close the deal who ghosts the client. The person in therapy about to break through who stops going. This isn't coincidence. This is the shadow's signature kill. Murder your future to preserve your identity. Second, repetition compulsion in relationships. You swore you'd never date someone like your ex. And somehow, 6 months in, you're having the exact same fights, feeling the exact same suffocation, crying the exact same tears. Different face, same pain. Jung called this repetition compulsion. Your shadow's attempt to heal an old wound by recreating it. Father abandoned you. You'll chase emotionally unavailable men. Mother was critical. You'll find partners who criticize you. First love betrayed you. You'll unconsciously select people capable of betrayal. Why? Because your shadow isn't protecting you from pain. It's trying to master it. Maybe this time I can make him stay. Maybe this time I can earn her approval. Maybe this time I can prevent the betrayal. You can't. The wound isn't in the present. It's in the past. But your shadow doesn't know the difference. So it keeps dragging you back to the crime scene, hoping for a different outcome. And you call this your type. It's not your type. It's your trauma. Third, projection warfare. You cannot stand them. Everything about them makes you want to scream. The way they talk, move through the world, the confidence they have. You think about them constantly, judge them obsessively, tell everyone how terrible they are, feel morally superior doing it. Here's what Jung discovered. The intensity of your disgust is the measure of your denial. You're not reacting to them. You're reacting to the mirror they're holding up to your shadow. They're loud. You've silenced yourself. They're sexual. You've shamed yourself. They're selfish. You've martyred yourself. They're doing openly what you're doing secretly, and you hate them for it, because seeing it in them means seeing it in yourself. So you go to war, not with them, with yourself. Every judgment is a confession. Every person you hate is a teacher showing you what you've disowned. And the tragedy, you're so busy projecting outward, you never turn around and face it inward. Fourth, the double life. You have 2 browser histories, the one people could see and the one you'd die if anyone saw. 2 versions of your personality, public and private. The wellness influencer binging in secret, the marriage counselor having an affair, the motivational speaker with crippling depression, the anti-porn activist addicted to porn. You think you're a hypocrite. You're not. You're the inevitable result of shadow repression. Jung observed this in hundreds of patients. The brighter you polish your persona, the darker your shadow becomes. The more you perform virtue, the more your shadow compensates with vice. This is enantiodromia, Jung's principle that everything pushed to an extreme becomes its opposite. The saint becomes the sinner, the hero becomes the villain, the guru becomes the fraud, not because they were lying, because they repressed one half so completely it erupted as the opposite of everything they claimed to be. Fifth, the addiction you won't name. Maybe it's not substances, maybe it's work, outrage, saving people, drama, productivity, social media, anything keeping you moving fast enough that you never have to be alone with your thoughts for 60 seconds. You tell yourself it's fine, everyone does it. But you know because you've tried to stop and panic set in. You know because sitting in silence feels like death. What are you avoiding? Your shadow. The discomfort of feeling what you've repressed. The terror of facing what you've been running from since childhood. The addiction isn't the problem, it's the solution. The problem is there's a part of you've been fleeing from your entire life, and you're so afraid of what you'll find if you stop running that you'd rather destroy your health, relationships, potential, than turn around and face it. But here's what you need to understand. You can't outrun yourself. Your shadow is faster, not because it's chasing you, because it is you. But it's worse than you think. Your shadow isn't just yours, it's ancestral. You didn't just inherit your mother's eyes. You inherited her unprocessed trauma, her repressed rage, her swallowed grief, her hidden shame. Psychologists call it intergenerational trauma. Jung called it the collective unconscious. I call it the curse you didn't ask for, but you're paying for anyway. Your grandmother was abused and told never to speak of it, so she taught your mother's suffering should be silent. Your mother taught you. Now you're 32 and you can't ask for what you need because 3 generations of women modeled endurance over expression. Your grandfather went to war and came back shattered and never processed it, so he taught your father emotions are weakness. Your father taught you. Now you're drowning in feelings you have no language for because 3 generations of men modeled amputation over integration. This is the dark gift of family. You inherit not just genes, but ghosts. The things your parents couldn't face, you will face. The things they couldn't heal, you will carry. Their shadow becomes your shadow, and it goes back further, through generations, through centuries, through collective cultural wounds nobody's processed. Raised in a culture that demonized anger, your shadow is a reservoir of rage. Raised in a religion that shamed sexuality, your shadow is saturated with lust and perversion. Raised in a society that punished vulnerability, your shadow is an ocean of unexpressed grief. You think your problems are personal? They're archetypal. You're not just fighting your demons. You're fighting the demons of everyone who came before you and refused to face them. This is why shadow work feels impossible. You're not just integrating yourself. You're integrating your lineage, and the stakes are higher than your personal peace. Look at the world right now. The tribalism, the rage, the us versus them, the absolute moral certainty, the dehumanization of anyone who thinks differently, the cancel culture, the political hatred, the ideological wars. What is this but collective shadow projection on a global scale? We've become a civilization that cannot tolerate complexity, cannot hold paradox, cannot see humanity in those we oppose. Why? Because we cannot tolerate it in ourselves. We've split ourselves into good and evil, acceptable and unacceptable, then split the world the same way. The enemy isn't out there, it's in here. But we can't face that, so we project. The left projects their shadow onto the right projects onto the left. Both sides convinced they're fighting evil. Neither realizes they're fighting themselves. And it escalates. And it will keep escalating until individuals wake up and do the work. Jung watched this with Nazi Germany. He watched educated, moral, civilized people commit atrocities, and he understood they weren't monsters. They were unconscious. They projected their shadow onto the Jews, the disabled, anyone who could carry their disowned darkness. Once they'd externalized their evil, they could maintain the illusion of their own purity while participating in genocide. They weren't evil people doing evil things. They were unconscious people acting out their shadow on the collective stage. Jung warned, this will happen again, and again, until humanity learns to face the shadow. We didn't listen. We're doing it right now. Different targets, same mechanism, same unconsciousness. Jung said, the world hangs by a thread, and that thread is the psyche of man. He meant it literally. Our survival depends on whether we can stop projecting darkness onto others and start owning it ourselves. And the work doesn't begin with politicians or systems. It begins with you, right now. So how do you face it? How do you turn around and look at what you've been running from your entire life? Jung didn't theorize, he did it. Between 1913 and 1917, he had what he called the confrontation with the unconscious. He withdrew from the world, dove into his own psyche, recorded everything in what became the Red Book, a document of his descent into madness and return with wisdom. He faced figures in his unconscious that terrified him, had dialogues with aspects of himself he didn't know existed, allowed himself to feel everything he'd repressed. It nearly broke him, but on the other side of that annihilation, he discovered the secret. The shadow is not your enemy. It's the gatekeeper to your wholeness. You cannot become who you're meant to be without descending into who you've been afraid to be. There is no integration without confrontation, no wholeness without descent, no light without darkness. Here's the path. First, radical honesty. You need a container, therapy, a journal, a relationship where you can say the unsayable, the thoughts that make you feel like a monster, the desires that fill you with shame, the actions you've buried in denial, the feelings you've spent your life running from. This is not confession for absolution. This is confession for integration. Most people have never been truly honest. They perform honesty, strategically reveal, share what maintains their self-image. Shadow work demands you speak the thing that makes you want to vomit, the thing you promised you'd never tell anyone, the thing you've been hiding from yourself, because until you name it, it owns you. The moment you speak it into the light, you can begin to integrate it. Second, track the projections. Every emotional reaction is a map to your shadow. Someone triggers you? That's information. Someone disgusts you? That's a gift. Someone enrages you? That's a mirror. The rule is simple. The intensity of your reaction reveals the depth of your denial. If someone's behavior makes you irrationally angry, ask, where am I doing what they're doing? If someone's confidence disgusts you, ask, where am I not allowing myself to be confident? If someone's sexuality enrages you, ask, where have I shamed my own sexuality? Your ego will fight this. No, they really are terrible. This isn't about me. But Jung would say, it's always partially about you. The world is not objective. It's a Rorschach test revealing your psyche. When you learn to read your reactions as information about yourself rather than about others, you stop giving your power away. You stop waging war with shadows. You start seeing reality. Third, decode the dreams. Your shadow speaks when you sleep. The persona dissolves. The unconscious takes the stage, and it shows you, in symbols, in metaphors, in terrifying images, exactly what you're repressing. The person chasing you? That's not an external threat. That's the part of yourself you're running from. The monster in your nightmare? That's not evil. That's your disowned power. The house that's collapsing? That's not your actual house. That's your psychic structure crumbling under the weight of repression. Start writing your dreams down the moment you wake. Start asking, what is my unconscious trying to tell me? What pattern keeps repeating? What am I refusing to see? Your dreams will hand you the answer, but you have to be brave enough to look. Fourth, active imagination. Jung's most powerful technique. You sit, close your eyes, allow an image to arise from your unconscious, usually a figure that disturbs you, a person from a dream, an archetype that haunts you. Then you do something that sounds insane but works. You talk to it, ask it questions, listen to its answers, engage it in dialogue. This is stupid. I'm making this up. That's what your rational mind will scream. Ignore it. Because Jung discovered something extraordinary, When you surrender control and allow the unconscious to speak through imagery, it reveals truths your conscious mind cannot access. The shadow figure will tell you why it's angry, what it needs, what it's been trying to communicate through your symptoms. This is not psychosis, it's a structured dialogue with a dissociated part of your psyche, and it integrates what has been split. Fifth, own your darkness. Not intellectually, not theoretically, actually, out loud, to yourself, to another human. I am capable of cruelty. I am capable of selfishness. I am capable of manipulation. I am capable of harm. I am capable of everything I judge in others. This is the hardest step. Not because it's complicated, because it's terrifying, because saying it means you can't hide from it anymore. You have to own it, and ownership feels like death. But it's not death, it's birth. The moment you own your shadow, it loses its power over you, because it only controls you through denial. When you say, "Yes, that's in me," you can finally choose what to do with it. You can take the energy you've been using to repress your darkness and redirect it toward creation, toward power, toward life. This is integration, and it's the only path to freedom. Here's what changes when you integrate your shadow. First, manipulation becomes impossible. Manipulators weaponize your shame. They find what you're most ashamed of and use it as leverage. You're selfish. If you've disowned your selfishness, you'll sacrifice yourself to prove them wrong. You're weak. If you've disowned your weakness, you'll destroy yourself to appear strong. But when you've integrated your shadow, when you've said, "Yes, I have selfish impulses, I have weak moments, and that's part of being human," the weapon breaks. You can look them in the eye and say, "Sometimes, so do you." Game over. Manipulation requires your participation in your own denial. Integration ends the game. Second, you stop attracting trauma bonds, because toxic relationships exist to recreate and resolve childhood wounds. When you integrate your shadow, the compulsion dissolves. You no longer need the emotionally unavailable partner because you've become emotionally available to yourself. You no longer chase the narcissist because you've reclaimed your own worth. Integration doesn't just change how you relate, it changes who you attract. You begin to magnetize people who are conscious, who have done their work, who can meet you in depth rather than drama. And those relationships feel different, stable, real, boring at first, because you're so used to chaos. But then you realize this is what love actually feels like when it's not a reenactment of trauma. Third, your creative power explodes, because the shadow contains all the life force you've been using to repress it. Freud said civilization is built on repression. Jung said, yes, and when you stop repressing, you get the energy back. The energy you've been using to hide yourself becomes available to express yourself. This is why every great artist has descended into their shadow to create their masterpiece. Picasso, Dali, Carlo. They're not creating despite their darkness. They're creating from it. The shadow is the source of raw authenticity, dangerous truth, electric power. When you integrate it, your work stops being performance and becomes transmission. Fourth, you develop true compassion, not empathy theater, real compassion born from understanding your own capacity for harm. Once you've faced your own darkness, you can't judge others from moral superiority. You understand everyone is fighting the same war. Everyone has a shadow. Everyone is capable of creation and destruction. This doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It means you see clearly without projecting. You hold people accountable without dehumanizing them. You protect yourself without demonizing others. You develop what Jung called the transcendent function, the ability to hold paradox without collapsing into binary thinking. Good people do bad things, bad people do good things, And you can recognize both without your brain short-circuiting. Fifth, you become truly dangerous, not destructive, powerful. The integrated shadow is not the absence of darkness, it's the conscious ownership of it. When you know your capacity for manipulation, for cruelty, for violence, and you choose not to wield it unconsciously, but to channel it consciously, you become unstoppable. You're no longer naive, no longer a victim, no longer controlled by forces you don't understand. You see the games because you've integrated the game player. You recognize predators because you've faced the predator within. You set boundaries from power, not fear. You protect from strength, not weakness. Nietzsche said, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster." The integrated person fights monsters because they've already faced the monster within and transformed it into an ally. Sixth, you find your purpose, not by searching for it, by becoming it, because the shadow contains not just your repressed darkness, but your repressed gifts. Everything you were told was too much, too loud, too intense, too weird, too sexual, too sensitive, too aggressive, wasn't wrong with you. It was your power, and you exiled it to be accepted. When you integrate your shadow, you reclaim these exiled gifts. Your anger becomes your passion for justice. Your sexuality becomes your creative life force. Your sensitivity becomes your empathy. Your weirdness becomes your originality. Your darkness becomes your depth. Jung called the shadow the treasure hard to attain. The dragon isn't guarding the treasure. The dragon is the treasure, and the treasure is you, whole, complete, unleashed. It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling, but this time something's different, because now you know what's been pulling your strings. Now you see the puppet master. Now you understand that every pattern, every sabotage, every repeated mistake wasn't you failing. It was your shadow screaming to be seen. And now you're standing at the threshold Jung described, the call to adventure, the choice that changes everything. You can close this video and return to unconsciousness. Keep performing your mask. Keep projecting your darkness. Keep wondering why nothing ever changes. That's one path, the easy path. The path most people take all the way to the grave. Or you can do what Jung did, what every integrated person has had to do. Turn around, face what you've been running from. Descend into your own darkness and discover it's not an abyss that will destroy you. It's the missing half of yourself that will complete you. If you're still here, if you've made it through this entire video, you're not part of the sleeping masses. You're part of the awakening few. The people who choose truth over comfort, consciousness over sleep, integration over performance. This channel exists for you. Every video is a confrontation with the hidden self. Subscribe if you're ready to go deeper than you've ever gone, ready to see what others refuse to see, ready to know what others are too terrified to know. Comment, shadow integrated, not as a phrase, but as a vow. A commitment, a line in the sand that says, I will not remain unconscious. I will not be controlled by what I refuse to see. I will face it. I will own it. I will integrate it. I will become whole. The shadow is not your enemy. It never was. It's your guide, your teacher, the key to your prison, and it's been waiting your entire life for you to turn around. So, turn around. Face it, own it, integrate it, and discover what Jung knew. You were never broken. You were incomplete. And now the work begins. See what others miss. Know what others fear. Become who others can't.